This is the Barbados Today evening news for Friday, July 28. Thank you for joining us. I am Mary Claire Williams. A distraught Christchurch family has been left puzzled by the fatal shooting of one of their loved ones. Mere hours after hearing that their relative, 34-year-old Closton Robinson, had been rushed to hospital with a gunshot wound, they got the dreaded news that he had died. According to police, Robinson was involved in an altercation with another man in Parishland, Christchurch, sometime between 1:30 and 2:30 this morning. The man shot Robinson in the head before fleeing the scene. When Barbados Today visited the grieving family, they declined to speak. Police are asking anyone with information about the incident to call the Criminal Investigation Department at Oistins at 418-2608 or 418-2609 or the police emergency number 211, Crime Stoppers at 1-800-8477 or the nearest police station. And in the face of tragedy, the island's largest trade union body is calling for a national dialogue on youth and crime. In a statement issued this evening, the Executive Council of the Barbados Workers' Union said urgent action is needed to arrest the current spate of gun crimes. Orion Gilks has that story.
The union has called on the Ministries of Culture, Youth and Sport, Education and Community Development to initiate national dialogue with help drawn from the judiciary, the police, the church, parent-teachers associations, guidance counselors, the University of the West Indies, and similar entities. The BWU said it was deeply concerned over the recent spate of lawlessness, especially crimes committed using firearms, cutlasses, and knives, and has suggested that there may be underlying weaknesses in parenting styles, which may be adding to the environmental influences, such as the move away by some families from the spiritual influences of the church, what they term the putrid influences of mass media, and particularly social media, as well as the narcotics and gun culture. To this end, in their statement, the union said speedy and purposive action by the state aimed at diagnosing the problems was necessary in order to find workable corrective action to halt the behavior that they say has the potential to create disorder and undermine Barbados' stability and development. Brian Gilts for Barbados Today.
Scores packed the St. Thomas Parish Church to bid farewell to Mary Magdalene Downs, who lost her life in a tragic accident on July 12. Downs always advised motorists traveling along the Ronald Mapp Highway to drive carefully. Ironically, she died after she disembarked from a public service vehicle on the busy intersection. St. Thomas MP Cynthia Ford delivered a stirring tribute at a moving church service. She described the mother of 6 as a gentle giant who was known as a loving, caring, and genuine person on the inside. In other news this Friday evening, Housing Minister Dennis Kelman says the island's trade unions had no grounds for taking to the streets on Monday to protest the 8% increase in the National Social Responsibility Levy. Delivering the weekly Asta B. Watts lecture today, Kelman argued that when the former Barbados Labour Party government introduced value-added tax, there was no protest. He charged that the introduction of VAT did not benefit workers and there should have been action.
Two people again when VAT was introduced. The government of Barbados was able to double its revenues, and the private sector was able to increase its revenue by 95%. The only group that did not gain were the workers. And you'll find it in this document. On top of it, the trade unions were told to hold strain. They didn't march, you know. While the government was accumulating all this money, they did not march, you know. But the government, as I said, they were able to double their intake. And the private sector was able to get 95%. And if anybody doubts me, all they have to do, look in the document, and you will see where I said to you that in the appendices of the document, of the estimates and so on, for that particular year from 93 up to 2001, you will see where that revenue moved from about $378.6 million and it went to 749, even more than double, nearly double, yeah. Because 757 about that would have been the doubling factor. But the workers did not.
St. Michael South Central may be considered Democratic Labour Party territory, but the incumbent Tourism Minister Richard Seeley, who has held that seat for the past 14 years, could have a fight on his hands in the next election. In 2013, Seeley beat out the then-opposition Barbados Labour Party's David Gill, capturing 2,231 votes to 1,967. But he now has to contend with a growing cynical and angry youth, as well as frustrated and disenchanted constituents. A Barbados Today team visited the constituency yesterday to measure the pulse of the people, and many made it clear it will not be business as usual.
As a small business, this tax has really hit me and her very hard. And honestly, I'm very tired and frustrated with this government. It's time for change. We really need an honest change. I can't take it anymore.
I think Prime Minister Barbados, right, should come in neighborhood, the poor neighborhood, and sort there with the rich people, right? Because got people in Barbados suffering, and he care nothing about the real people. So I was the DLP, so it changed over now to BB.
People say they want just a change in government, they want a change in governing.
Right, governance.
Everybody that getting under the same.
So everybody just running there, all them boy partisan. People wanting to do away with the boy partisan shit and deal with the agents, deal with the country, to get the boy partisan shit. That is what's called gangs in the country. People that follow them lead. No, them is too big bunch of gangs. You say this, I say this, we out one another throats all the time. That with the boy partisan shit. I deal with real things. So you can invest 20 million in road works, can't even finish your road works, and can't invest 100 million in agriculture.
That the bee cannot look after what we're going on right now, the bee cannot move it. So the next step change it from the D to the B. Let me stick with the D.
The Ministry of Health is advising Barbadians to be on their guard as neighboring Caribbean countries record an increase in the cases of conjunctivitis, commonly known as red eye. Authorities say there has been no unusual rise in cases here, but they warn that the condition is highly contagious, with symptoms lasting 2 days to 3 weeks. Symptoms include redness behind the eyelid, swelling of the eyes, making them appear puffy, excessive tears, and a discharge from the eye which causes crusting around the eyelids and discomfort in bright lights. The ministry is advising anyone who is infected to seek immediate medical attention, and it says the best way to prevent the condition is to adhere to good hygiene practices, including proper hand washing.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Imagine screaming for your favorite artists as they compete in the Sweet Soca and Party Morning Final of the MQI 98.1 The Wall Soca Royale in association with JetBlue, Philip B. Marvey, Lil Rick, Marsville, Nikita, RPB, Sanctuary, Shaquille, and TC battling reigning Sweet Soca Monarch Edwin. Then it's the Party Morning Finals with Raz, Ali, and Reiner, Faith, Mikey, Mr. Deal, Mr. Blood, Peter Ram, Ramses Brown, and Sophia, all battling reigning Party Monarch Lil Rick. A sleek Mazda 3 for each winner. General tickets are now $60 or pay $70 at the door. Royal Sunday, July 30th at the Bushy Park Racing Circuit. It's the MQI 98.1 The Wall Soca Royale in association with JetBlue. Get your tickets now. Tickets available at the NTX, www.ticketpal.com, and all Popover box offices. Get your tickets now.
Thank you for staying with us. We're back with news from the region. Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, is strongly defending his government's decision to take to the law courts to wind up CL Financial. At a news conference yesterday, Rowley said his government is working in the country's best interest, given the alarming practices at the insurance conglomerate.
Would it have been proper for the government to allow this to happen and leave $15 billion of taxpayers' money unprotected?
It's the question being put to taxpayers about government's moves on CL Financial. With its application for provisional liquidators getting the court's green light this week, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley broke his silence on the move to wind up the insurance conglomerate. After 8 years, he maintained taxpayers were nowhere closer to getting back $15 billion still outstanding from the 2009 bailout.
when the private shareholders of a private company that was bailed out by taxpayers, when they move to take over the company and to expel your representative, the government, what did you expect the government to do? What we want to do is to ensure that the taxpayer money that went into these private companies is protected, and there's a reasonable chance of the taxpayer getting back that money.
And further afield, Charlie Gard, the baby at the center of a legal row over his treatment, has died. The 11-month-old was moved to a hospice following a High Court ruling. He suffered from an extremely rare genetic condition causing progressive brain damage and muscle weakness. His parents, Connie Yates and Chris Gard, fought a lengthy legal battle with Great Ormond Street Hospital to allow him to be taken to the U.S. for treatment.
They had hoped for a miracle. Their fight gained allies and world leaders with tweets from Pope Francis and U.S. President Donald Trump. Experts flew from the U.S. to the U.K. to conduct tests on Charlie's brain function, leading up to what many believe to be a final showdown in court once again this week, pitting the hospital's view against loving parents willing to do anything for their son. But instead, the latest scans revealed there was no longer any chance of recovery, a devastating outcome that led Charlie's parents to wonder about what might have been.
Charlie's been left with his illness to deteriorate devastatingly to the point of no return. We will have to live with the what-ifs, which will haunt us for the rest of our lives.
At the end of a long and public fight over Charlie, his parents shared one last goodbye to their baby boy before retreating from public view to spend their last moments with their dying son.
To Charlie, we say, Mummy and Daddy, we love you so much. We always have and we always will, and we are so sorry that we couldn't save you. Sweet dreams, baby. Sleep tight, our beautiful little boy. We love you.
And that's the news, but for the very latest, you can visit our website www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook. We're on Izumi Media in bus terminals and Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also find us on Mix 96.9 FM. I am Mary Claire Williams. Have a good weekend.